So I just I step back sometimes, and maybe at times in my life because I've been really really busy at times. I worry that I forget about Mid South and how I got started. Because look, let's be honest about it, Connie. If I hadn't had my run in Mid South and sitting under the Cowboys learning tree along with Ernie Ladd and several others, uh, I I wouldn't be sitting here today. I don't know what I'd be doing. Probably be a coach or a teacher or something like that. But
And I'll be honest, I've had a lot of fun on our show over the years, just talking about some of my favorite memories of wrestling with you and getting some insight on the little details that we didn't see on camera. But on a show like today, I'm reminded of the time that we did the Houston wrestling episode with Bruce. And I really didn't know much about Houston wrestling. I mean, I knew who Paul Bosch was and I knew some of the guys who went through there, but
yeah,
I learned a lot, and I'm hoping to learn a lot today. And we did our best on research here, but I'm sure you're going to set the record straight on a lot of this. And if you're an old school wrestling fan, this is going to be an episode that's right up your alley. And I will say this: what's old is new again. You'll see people borrowing ideas from this era in modern wrestling all the time. Like, here's a little known fact: that giant North American title that existed way back when, that is sort of what the AEW title is based on. Like, the inspiration for the current AEW world title is the giant North American title. And there's all those pretty iconic photos of Magnum TA and guys like that with that giant, massive belt. That's really what they were looking for. And so, maybe you can get a peek of what could be coming in the future just by taking a look at wrestling of yesteryear. And when we think about that, especially like early Jim Ross, we got to talk about Leroy McGurk.
mm-hmm.
He was the guy who was really running NWA Tri-State Wrestling, a former amateur and professional wrestler himself. The territory covered not just Oklahoma, but Arkansas, Louisiana, and a few towns in Mississippi, Missouri, and Texas. Is this the wrestling you grow up on? And tell us, how you first discover or hear of this territory.
Well, I watched McGurk's TV show every Saturday for most of my life, and the TV we got was out of Tulsa. I lived about 100 miles east of Tulsa in a little town called Westville, home of the Westville Yellow Jackets. And my family came there to that county before statehood. So I had land down there. It's been in the family since the 1880s. So my roots are there, and I watched wrestling. If I was a good boy, because my dad hated wrestling and roller derby, I got to watch wrestling and roller derby on Saturday afternoons. They ran back to back. It was a dream come true. Roller derby led off, and then it rolled right into championship wrestling. And a guy named Danny Williams was the announcer. He was a local TV personality in Oklahoma City, and I think it was a studio show. We did with one coverage camera. They call them the hard camera a lot now. You see them with the TVs and things. That one area is always separated. The hard camera's there, and we had one handheld. That was it. You had two cameras. I was in the business a long time, Conrad, before I even used a set of cans like this. It was a stick mic, and you couldn't hear yourself. Now, the glory of that was, as I grew to know at times, is that you couldn't hear from anybody. You took your time cues from the handheld camera guy, because he just switched his camera around. There you'd be for your little on camera. And then my first broadcast partner was Mr. McGurk, who was blind.
My goodness, that's a challenge. No.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to understand your audience, I guess, and see. He's got to communicate with me because I can see and he can't, and I'm the play-by-play guy and he isn't. So let me lead the dance.
Right.
And that was one of the big adjustments for me. When I came to AEW and after getting moved to Rampage, but basically just doing color as an analyst. I like being an analyst. I like doing color. So, and I think I bring something to the table, a different perspective. And I don't take myself too seriously. So I like the I like working with Leroy was challenging, Conrad. You know, so I had to be very graphic. I had to be very, you know, where he could see like radio, the theater of the mind. At the end of the day, I probably talked too much like I am now, but he was just really interesting man to work with. And I didn't realize how much influence I had until maybe 10 years later, because he was going by what I said, and I'm a friggin' kid just trying to do this job of my dream job, but with 2 mics and 2 cameras.
Talk to me a little bit about Mr. McGurk, because I know that I've been fortunate enough to see your live show in person. And as I understand it, you're going to be doing some more of those later this year. So stay tuned for that. But I've seen your show in person, and you tell a story about making a road trip with Mr. McGurk. And
yeah,
as I understand it, back in the day, he liked his cigars, and well, something happened. Can you fill in the blanks for us there?
Yeah, you know, we did TV production on Tuesdays in Shreveport every Tuesday. So even though the shows were taped on Wednesday night, you still had to do the inserts. You know, here's Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He's going to be in the Baton Rouge on Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. So you still had to go down there. So I'm taking him down there. Of course, he didn't drive well. I did the driving, and that was an adventure. God bless him. He's a tough old bastard boy. I mean, he was that Irish. He was All-American at Oklahoma State. He's a national champion amateur, and he had a short fuse, very short fuse. I remember one time taking him to the bathroom, and I was on one of my gigs. I'm probably the only guy in wrestling history to take Leroy McGurk to take a dump and wash the McGuire's backs in the shower.
I think you're one of one there, pal.
I think so.
Yeah.
That should give me booked to some of these appearances I'm on right there. Just those 2 things. So, I don't know where I was, but I'm having fun talking about this. I can tell you that. But McGurk was just you know, he wrote all his own publicity. He was
You're
in
doing a car
journalism
trip with him, if you recall.
Well, the car trip was okay. Thank you. We're driving from Tulsa to Shreveport. It's about a 5-hour drive, I think. We have this one little Greasy Spoon little restaurant on the side of the road that he liked to stop at because it was just an old diner type thing. And he liked their fresh vegetables. That's another thing I learned to do. Feed a blind man. You ever feed a blind man, Conrad?
I have not, no.
You got to put the potatoes at noon and the green beans at 3 and the chicken fried steak at 6, and you had everything had a place.
Got it.
That's what I would tell him, and he would know then to go as his plate set in front of him and what he was getting.